When you shop online and order the wrong size clothing that doesn't fit, you'd probably just return it. It wouldn't affect your life in any meaningful way. But what if a single component on an aircraft flying at 30,000 feet were the wrong size? 61 lives vanished in an instant. Today, let us turn back the clock 27 years to the afternoon and replay the final moments of Southwest Airlines Flight 4509. In 1999, China stood on the threshold of a new century. The smokestacks of Yangtze River Delta factories ran day and night without pause. The neon lights of coastal cities burned even brighter. The economic pulse of the inland heartland began to quicken. The people's hunger for speed and efficiency had never been more intense. And across this vast land, a brand new industry was rising: Chinese civil aviation. Just over a decade earlier, boarding an airplane had been beyond the reach of most Chinese citizens. In those days, their travel required a formal letter of introduction issued by one's work unit, processed through layers of bureaucratic approval, and was typically reserved for officials of section chief rank or above. An airline ticket was not merely a travel document. It was a symbol of status and standing. Airport terminals were sparse. A small aircraft with just over 40 seats, but carrying no more than a dozen passengers. All of this changed as the reform deepened. In 1987, the State Council approved the reports on Civil Aviation System Management Reform Plan and implementation steps, raising the curtain on China's civil aviation institutional reform. The reform centered on separating government from enterprise and splitting airlines from airports. It dismantled the old, highly centralized government-run system and established major trunk airlines across 6 regional zones nationwide. This was a defining step of a second major management reform in the history of Chinese civil aviation. On October 15th of that same year, the former Civil Aviation Chengdu administration was divided into 3. The Civil Aviation Southwest Administration, Chengdu Shuangliu International Airport, and the newly born airline China Southwest Airlines. Each assumed its own responsibilities, heralding a new era for civil aviation in the heart of the Southwest. Not long after this reform, an aircraft from the Soviet Union began making frequent appearances in the skies above Southwest China. To understand this disaster, we must first understand the origins of the aircraft itself. The Tupolev Tu-154 was a 3-engine medium to long-range jet airliner developed by the Soviet Tupolev Design Bureau in the 1960s. Born in the most glorious era of Soviet aviation, it achieved a maximum cruising speed of 90-75 km per hour, making it one of the fastest subsonic mainline airliners in the world. After entering commercial service in 1972, the Tu-154 quickly became the most widely used mainstay aircraft in Soviet civil aviation, adopted by 21 countries with nearly 1,000 units produced. At the peak, it was the calling card of Soviet aerospace power, hailed as the pride of the Soviet Union. In 1980, the Tupolev Design Bureau introduced an improved variant, the Tu-154M. The new model was fitted with higher performance D30Ku engines, extended its maximum range to 6,600 kilometers, accommodated up to 180 passengers, and offered overall improved performance. Between 1985 and 1987, China imported 30 Tu-154M aircraft, distributed among several carriers including Southwest Airlines, Northwest Airlines, and Sichuan Airlines, compared to the Boeing 737 or Airbus A320. each priced at well over 300 million RMB at the time. A single 2154M costs only around 50 million RMB. This stock price advantage held enormous appeal for China's fledgling capital-constrained airlines. One of the 2154M aircraft acquired by Southwest Airlines, registration number B2622, rolled off the production line in August 1990 and entered service that the same year. But in early 1999, it had logged 135 flight hours and 34 minutes, with over 7,700 takeoffs and landings, all within the bounds of normal, safe operational use. Yet unknown to anyone, a dangerous seed had already been quietly planted deep within the aircraft structure. February 24, 1999, Chengdu, the last day of the winter. Chengdu Shuangliu International Airport, born alongside the civil aviation reforms, welcomed what seemed like an ordinary day. As a vital aviation hub for China's greater southwest, it bore the mission for connecting Chengdu to every corner of the country. At 2:35 in the afternoon, China Southwest Airlines flight Sierra Zulu 4509 at 2154M, registration Bravo 2622, with a takeoff weight of 80,605 kilograms, lifted off from Chengdu Shuangliu Airport carrying 50 passengers and 11 crew members, bound for Wenzhou, Zhejiang. Captain Liu Feichen, born in June 1962, was a seasoned pilot with over 4,000 flight hours. This routine flight was nothing out of the ordinary for him. In the cockpit alongside him were three others. First Officer Xue Mo, who also had over 4,000 hours of flight experience. Flight Engineer Guo Shuming, with more than 15,000 hours. And Navigator Liang Jianfeng, with over 10,000 hours. At 4 in the afternoon, the aircraft began its gradual descent toward Wenzhou Airport on final approach. Weather condition was favorable. There was no indication whatsoever of the catastrophe drawing near. And yet, as the aircraft descended, a captain began to sense something was wrong. At 4 p.m., as the aircraft passed over Shan Road, the captain felt that the control column's position was too far forward. This was an unusual sensation. In normal flight, there exists a strict linear relationship between the control column and the elevator. Push forward, the nose drops. Pull back, the nose rises. Every input should produce an immediate, precise response. But that day, the captain clearly felt that the column had moved, and the aircraft had not followed, in an attempt to reduce altitude despite the diminished control response. The captain instructed the cabin crew to move passenger forward and initiated a fuel transfer. At 4:16 p.m., the captain said to the first officer, "Every time under the throttle, the nose pitches up. The column position and the control surface position are not consistent." These words are a grave warning. At 4:26 p.m., the captain reported, "The control column is pushed all the way to the stop, and the aircraft is not descending." At 4:27 p.m., the captain said, "The column feels very light." At 4:29:50 p.m., at an altitude of 1,200 meters, the captain ordered the landing gear extended in preparation for landing. But this decision pushed them toward an abyss. Before gear extension, the center of gravity shift had been manageable and the crew could still maintain some control. But after extension, The added drag induced a nose-down pitching moment. When the gear down, the aircraft developed a pronounced tendency to pitch forward. The captain pulled back on the column to maintain the nose altitude, making large, rapid impulses within a matter of seconds, but the elevator did not respond normally. Then everything unraveled at once. The control column suddenly produced an abnormal, non-linear response. The elevator deflected sharply onward. The aircraft pitched violently nose up, reaching an overload of 1.9 G. The pilots immediately pushed forward aggressively to correct. This time, the elevator swung rapidly to maximum downward deflection. The aircraft plunged into a violent nosedive. The pitch angle reached negative 58 degrees in just 10 seconds. The cockpit voice recorder (CVR) captured the disparate cries of the crew. At 4:30 p.m., the aircraft struck farmland near Baishu village, Yexiangtan, Ruiyang City, at a dive angle of approximately 57 degrees and a speed of roughly 600 km per hour. The aircraft disintegrated on impact. All 61 people on board. Two villagers working in nearby fields were injured by the blast wave. That same evening, the Civil Aviation Administration of China dispatched an investigation team to the scene. The following day, the State Economic and Trade Commission, together with the CAAC, the Ministry of Public Security, the Ministry of Supervision, and other agencies, jointly established the 224 Major Aviation Accident Investigation and Handling Lead Group. A large-scale technical investigation commenced immediately. Investigators excavated the impact crater to depths of 7 to 8 meters, methodically logging every fragment of engines, landing gear, and control systems. Based on the deformation characteristics of the engine turbine blades, it was determined that the engine had been functioning normally at the moment of impact. Engine failure was ruled out. The position of the horizontal stabilizer and the flap handle records ruled out the horizontal stabilizer malfunction. Weather, communications, navigation, weight and balance, security, every conceivable cause was rigorously eliminated. In the end, the investigation team's attention fixed upon an unassuming component. At the top of the aircraft's vertical tail was a triangular bell crank known as the 135 bell crank, the critical pivot linking the control column to the elevator. All pitch control of the elevator was routed through this point. The investigators discovered that at the bell crank's connection point, an ordinary self-locking nut had been installed when the specification required as a castellated nut secured with the cotter pin. More critically, the dimensions of this self-locking nut were entirely mismatched to the bolt. The nut had a diameter of 8 mm and a thread pitch of 1.25 mm. While the bolts had a diameter of only 7 mm and a thread pitch of 1.00 mm. An incorrect nut cannot provide reliable locking, and will gradually loosen and back out under vibration and repeated use. Once the nut backs out, the connecting bolt fell away, and the connection between the reserve push rod and the 135 bell rank was completely severed. The control linkage between the column and the elevator was broken. This was the root cause of the destruction of Flight Sierra Zulu 4509. Chinese investigations subsequently traveled to Russia to conduct ground tests and simulator verification, which further confirmed the conclusion. Once that connection was severed, the elevator's response would become entirely unpredictable. Any input by the pilot could trigger uncontrollable control surface deflections, and the aircraft's descent into a crash became inevitable. The investigation report noted that despite extensive forensic work and analysis, the investigation team was ultimately unable to determine with certainty whether the incorrectly installed self-locking nut had been fitted during an overhaul in Russia or subsequently installed in error by Southwest Airlines maintenance personnel. But regardless of where the mistake originated, one fact was certain. Through multiple subsequent routine maintenance inspections, this incorrectly installed nut was never detected or corrected by anyone. The investigation report directed its finding at two levels. At the technical level, the report noted that the maintenance philosophy behind Soviet-designed aircraft is experience-based, fundamentally different from the procedure-based approach of Western aircraft. Operating Soviet-built aircraft requires not merely following maintenance checklists by rote, but a deep understanding of the underlying technical requirements and the accumulation of hands-on experience. Within Southwest Airlines maintenance system, this kind of targeted, specialized training was severely lacking, and the technical proficiency of maintenance workers was low, allowing a critical safety hazard to lie dormant within the aircraft structure for an extended period. At the management level, the report delivered a harsh combination of Southwest Airlines' numerous failures in safety oversight. The principle of safety first are becoming nothing more than a slogan at the company's leadership level. Grassroots adherence to regulation was lax, and the handling of safety hazards was perfunctory. At the time of the accident, the company was in a period of turbulence, declining profitability, undergoing corporate restructuring. Morale among staff had revealed, and competition had disintegrated, all of which provided the soil in which this strategy was allowed to grow. The State Economic and Trade Commission imposed administrative and party disciplinary sanctions on Southwest Airlines General Manager, Party Secretary, and 14 other responsible individuals in accordance with the law. Several managers were removed from or stripped of their positions. The day after the crash of Flight Syria Zulu 4509, Southwest Airlines immediately grounded all four of its remaining two 154M aircraft. This disaster also sounded the death knell for its aircraft type in China. The two 154M may have been affordable, but its engines were fuel-hungry, its operating costs persistently high, and its design philosophy and maintenance system were fundamentally at odds with those of mainstream Western aircraft, demanding enormous investments in specialized training. A crash involved the same aircraft type had already occurred at China Northwest Airlines in 1994, killing 160 people. Together, the two disasters claimed 221 lives. In 2002, China civil aviation sector pressed forward with a new round of institutional reform. The two 154M was phased out of Chinese civil aviation operation entirely, departing the skies of China forever. Looking back at the loss of these 61 lives, the tragedy had deep roots in the context of its era. China's civil aviation reform was an attempt, in a relatively short period of time and with relatively limited resources, to close the gap with the aviation industry that the rest of the world had been built for decades. In that process, growing pains were inevitable. The selection of aircraft types, the establishment of maintenance systems, the transformation of management culture, the implementation of safety standards. Any gap in any one of these could exact an inevitable price. The 1999 investigation report put forward several safety recommendations that remain relevant to this day, acknowledge the fundamental differences in design and maintenance philosophy between aircraft or different manufacturing traditions, deepen maintenance engineering management so that every work card is genuinely implemented, strengthen ongoing training in both theoretical foundations and practical skills for maintenance personnel. These recommendations were purchased at the cost of 61 innocent lives. Today, China's civil aviation system has become one of the safest large-scale aviation systems in the world, transporting hundreds of millions of passengers each year. Behind every safe landing and every safe arrival lie countless costs, some already paid, others yet unknown, silently holding up this expanse of blue sky. Those 61 names deserve to be remembered.